Two films, both starring Fahadh Faasil, both have a really cool concept, but both falter and by the end leave you with a bad taste. Let's talk about it. Hello guys, I'm Nona Prince, and the two films we're talking about today are the Tamil film Maareesan and the Malayalam film Odum Kuthira Chaadum Kuthira. The Tamil film is now streaming on Netflix and the Malayalam film right now is in theaters at the time of recording. The common link between both the films is Fahadh Faasil, and by now he has become a brand that you know when you're watching his film, it will be something special. It's not gonna be any run-of-the-mill film. He chooses his scripts very carefully. If he really likes them, he connects to it, then only he commits to making them, and that shows you it matters to him, and that is actually visible in both the films. The ideas in them are really refreshing. Their screenplay and making stands out. They are films which are challenging the norms, and maybe that is the reason behind the disconnect. Both the films start really well. The first half is very well executed, but it's the second half where both the films fall and couldn't sustain the same execution. First, let's talk about Maareesan, directed by Sudheesh Sankar and written by Krishna Moorthy. This film had the coolest teaser and trailer that was released this year. Just the idea of two characters on a journey and all of it happening in a single day is very fascinating. Reminds me of Meeyadagan, very different film. Such stories are driven by two things, either the characters or either the plot. For example, Meeyadagan is a very character heavy film. If you look at the plot, it's nothing. A guy visits his old town after a long time, spends a day and he leaves. That's it. But it's about the characters, what they feel, what they're going through. We share moments with them and we get to explore them through that. That is kind of a character study. And an example for the plot driven one would be something like Up, the animated film, where we have these two characters who meet and then they go on a journey, an adventure, and it's the plot that's taking them ahead. And of course, through that we get to know about the characters too. And Maareesan is like that, where we have these two characters, we get to know about them, but it's also driven by the plot, especially after the interval. Now, the idea of a serial thief crossing paths with a rich Alzheimer's patient, that is a crazy combo, especially with these two actors. This ride should be a blast, and they share a lot of moments. There's a lot of fun, the different attempts made by the thief to get the money, all the mishap that happens. It is a crazy ride, but sadly all of it is just a small portion of the film. Now, the first problem with the film is that it's tonally inconsistent. It is a thriller at moments, but also a comedy at moments, but then it also gets very serious and gets into a social issue, and then there's a lot of melodrama involved. And there's nothing wrong to go for all of this in a single film. In India we call it masala narratives, and it can be pulled off, but I feel this concept needed more focus for a better experience. You had to decide on one of the genre to go after, and because of that the screenplay feels very fractured. It's not very tight, and that also makes the editing very choppy. The transition from one scene to the other is very abrupt. It's actually not happening in one day, it's happening over multiple days. Suddenly it's a daytime, then it's nighttime, and then it's back to day and night, and constantly you cannot keep track of the time, and because of that you're playing very loose. If the script actually keep a track on the time, it would make the script very tight, and because of these reasons there's no organic flow to the narrative. Even with all of this, the first half really works, but it's the second half where things just fall apart, and that happens because all the other elements which are brought into the story, we get the flashbacks, we get the whole criminal angle, and the way it is dealt with in the film is just, I don't know what to say. It just doesn't work. The criticism that Maharaja got, which I felt was unfair on that film, actually applies to this film, because this film gets into that savior complex. The film in a way is trying to justify the actions of our character, because at the end of the day it's a good thing that he did that. And we do get a courtroom scene. Our character is punished for the crimes he did, but the way it's played out, it felt like a joke. It actually played like a monologue for the character instead of dealing with that complex thing. The problem is when you take a real issue from the society and you show that just one guy could solve it all, that too through vigilantism, it shows that you're taking the real issue very lightly, and it is an injustice to the subject. Now, I understand the place the filmmakers are coming from. They are talking about an important issue and trying to tackle it in the film, but that's not the way to do it. In Maharaja, it works because it's more personal. It's not a crusade that a character has gone on to, that is gonna fix the society and clean it up. It was a personal revenge for it. And the moment you take up such a serious issue of trafficking, now you cannot have any fun. You have to take it very seriously, and that just kills the whole excitement about this plot of these two characters. After the interval, the story also became very predictable, the twist coming, even the final one. And through all of this, Fahadh's character takes a backseat. Suddenly, the film is about something else, not about this character at all who we start the film with. And watching the film, it made me question, why go to a flashback? Can we not tell the story without it? Can we not make it more efficient? Why get into Fafa's family background, try to create reasoning behind what he does? Why couldn't be just these two characters with the same ideas and plot? There could have been a better film out of this. Apart from all of that, one of the biggest issue I had with the film was the supporting characters, the side characters. The people they hired for those roles were just not it. Maybe they were going for real people who would suit the part, but just the gap between them and our two main lead characters was just enough to throw you off with their performances. I feel both Vadivelu and Fahadh did everything they could, but the film just didn't come together. And it was, a letdown, knowing how amazing it could have been. Now let's talk about the Malayalam film Odum Kuthira Chaadum Kuthira. OKCK, written and directed by Althaf Salim, who's also an actor by the way. Now from the trailer it was clear it's gonna be a wild ride and maybe a film not for everyone. It is gonna be weird and wacky, and that's exactly what you get. It has that Wes Anderson vibe, it's very slapsticky. It is a crazy wacky film. The making is over the top, the way it's captured, the way the camera moves, the editing done, the sound, the music, the way the characters behave, all of it is very exaggerated. And over that the film is non-linear. We actually start the film with the exciting incident, we go through that, and then we get to the flashbacks which tells you how we reached here. And the most interesting thing is that this film is exploring the themes of depression in such different way. You usually see the treatment of depression is very gloomy and dark, but this film is very bright. It's colorful. It is almost like a surreal dream. So this concept is very, very interesting. And actually the execution is so good that all of it clicks in the first half. Like literally I had so much fun watching it. There were few people in the theater with me and all of them were constantly laughing. And it was a tough film to watch with subtitles because they were going very fast. There was a lot of them. And at many moments I missed the joke. But when we come to the second half, the film just drags and drags and drags forever. It felt like the actors had to literally push the film to the end. So what happened? In the second half, they bring this subplot which actually doesn't match the vibe of the film. It's not wacky. It's not very slapsticky. Our characters are, but suddenly the plot isn't. And this subplot just consumes the whole film in the second half. The focus totally shifts. Again, Fahadh Faasil is on a backseat. We get into the flashbacks of this other character and what she's dealing with, and she's also going through depression. And we go through all that motion, and at the end it has to connect to the main story. But honestly, it didn't make any sense to me. Like, I don't know if I didn't get the film or it actually didn't make sense. Like the main narrative between Fahadh and Kalyani's character, that was very interesting to watch. And instead of focusing on that, we are getting this extra subplot. And that main storyline is just being stretched just because the communication between two characters is not happening. Their characters coming in between. Like everything would get resolved if these two characters just talk to each other. There would be no need of the second half. But that you can say for so many films. People create a lot of memes like this. And if this character had done this, there would be no movie. It's such a waste of time. So that argument doesn't make that much sense which I am making. But in those narratives, why it is getting delayed is because we are going on a journey, which is an arc for the character, which by the end will have an outcome. So that's why it makes sense why the story is not getting resolved, because we are going on an adventure. But here, it was nothing. The point that the whole subplot was making would have been condensed to one moment. And instead of having a 2.5 hour long film, it could have been just 1 hour 15 minutes. So you can say the film gets overindulgent. It's just so occupied with its own thing, what it's trying to do, that it just loses the audience. It would have been a much better film if the film focused on just 3 characters: Fafas, Kalyani's, and Lal. Like his character and his performance was so good. His story, his loneliness made so much sense. Emotionally, you could feel it. Everything was really good. It just had to be focused. And let me know, all the people who have seen this film and Hidya Purvam, at the end, the actress who shows up, is it the same for both films? For both Lal, it's the same actress? I think that is the case. Now, Fahadh Faasil really adapted himself for this narrative. Vinay Fortt was just outstanding. So hilarious. Kalyani Priyadarshan just showed her range this Onam, from playing a stoic character to almost playing a crazy girl. And Revathi, who I think this is the first film in Malayalam, but I've seen her in TVF shows. She did well with what she got. I really appreciate the effort and the concept which actually worked. But the problem is it doesn't stay consistent and leaves you unsatisfied, which is the case for both the films, but not this one. Check out the review if you haven't. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I will see you next time.